Hello and welcome to the Author's Corner. My name is Marissa Bloedoorn. I am your host and I am the editor-in-chief of Own It Magazine and Publishing. I have with me some amazing women. I'm going to bring them forward with me in just a second. Teresa Palmer, who is a published author and also too a member of the contributing writers team for Own It Magazine and Publishing. Also too, Stephanie Malench. She is also a new contributing writer. And she has a host of professional services that she offers for individuals, professionals looking to write from the bios to writing your book and having it published and all of that other good stuff. I'm going to bring them forward because today we're going to be talking about all of that chat GPT and AI and all of that good stuff, self-publishing. And so taking center stage and owning it with me is Teresa Palmer and Stephanie Malench. All right, ladies, we are here today. And although we're here to talk about all this AI stuff, right? All of this AI stuff in publishing and integrity in writing and so I have used Chat GPT. I've used it. It's a great tool. It is a great resource. And I've written a lot myself. And so when you've written a lot yourself, and you get a tool that can help you to get things done a lot speedier, a lot faster, it can be very addictive, and it can be abused. Because it just makes life so much easier, right? You put in your information that you wanted to write to, and then it produces all of this information. And so that was a concern for me, right? Because depending on what tool you use, and I'm not sure if you ladies know more different platforms to use. I've been using Chat GPT, and also too, I have companies that I use for our stock images inside our magazine. And they now have AI tools and ways that you could take video using AI and different things like that. Share your thoughts on this, because when I used it, I could see people just abusing it so much because it is a light, it changes the game. So I'm going to let Stephanie, this is your first time with us live in the Author's Corner. I'm going to let you go in and chime in regards to your thoughts on the AI and Chat GPT.
So personally, I used to use Chat GPT when I was writing blogs for clients to help me figure out what exactly I needed to be researching it. So I used it as a pre-research tool so that I would know what to look for in the Google searches. I do not even do that anymore because anything you put into Chat GPT then owns that, and they can use that information that you give it to help fill its brain of information to help provide other people with information. Therefore, you don't have your copyright protections anymore. If you're doing character development, someone else may decide that, oh, I like that character, I'm going to use it, and boom, you get slow on writing your book and someone else is using that character in a best-selling novel. It also, when you were mentioning about the videos, Chat GPT and different AI editing tools for videos are extremely dangerous because you can take any person, take their video, and you can manipulate what they are saying, especially with this being an election year. You can have either of the candidates of an actual video from the debates, and someone else can go in and have them say something completely different, and people are going to believe that because, well, it was during the debate. Why shouldn't I believe what they're saying? And use sound bites that way. You can also, Chat GPT is also dangerous with still images for the same reason. Midjourney is the big company that does artificial intelligence photos, and you can tell some of them because they have like a two-dimensional view to them. They kind of look glossy. People's heads are out of shape. Their skin tone doesn't match. Their fingers aren't the right length. There's tools to be able to use it, identify inappropriate usage.
Wow, that is so good. And that's one, when you're using Chat GPT, depending on the level in which you're using it, you can see that it's not advanced, depending on what level, depending on the information that you actually give it. And then you also see a lot of repetition inside the wording, the vocabulary, etc. I'm going to let Teresa. I know you're sitting there. I'm going to let you chime in on this, and then Stephanie, I want to circle back because I want you to introduce yourself and let the people know exactly what you do. So Teresa, go ahead.
Well, the first thing I'll say is there's a lot of technology. We're in the time of technological advances, which is good, but at the same time, we have a tendency to forget that there's no substitution for humans. There's no substitution for us, whether it be Chat GPT, regardless of what it is. There's still that human touch, and I think sometimes we forget that in the world, and I think that's where we get dangerous. I do belong to a Hay House writing. I'm part of the Hay House writing community, one of the founders of that, and they always caution about using Chat GPT, about using these things, because it's not really your voice. You could feed anything information and you could get an answer from it. I think we have to be very cautious in how we use it. Do I use it? No. Truthfully, I like to do my own writing. I like my own things. I like my own voice. And I think that's another thing, is that once we start using other voices, it just adds to us losing our voice, which in many ways we already have, because as adults, we become socially conditioned to listen to outside ourselves, what's being said, other people, other so-called experts. There's nothing wrong with being an expert, but now you've got this Chat GPT and other AI. It's now also becoming the expert. And what is happening to people, or what could happen to people, is we could say, well, I don't really have to think anymore. I don't really have to do any input. I could rely on this outside source. And I think the more we get dependent outside ourselves and the less dependent we get on ourselves, we really do risk losing ourselves in technology. And, that may sound like science fiction to some people, but I think it's a very real thing, because I think now, with the world moving so quickly, with technological advances, with all these things that are happening, I think we have to be more grounded than ever in ourselves. And that means knowing ourselves, trusting ourselves, and using our own given talents that we were born with, and not just relying on things outside ourselves. I've known people that have used this Chat GPT and have done things. In fact, I had gone to a conference. It was a virtual conference, but it was a very well-known person. And I was so disappointed, because what this person was trying to sell people for close to $8,000 was his information via AI. So in other words, you would pay to be to so-called mentor with him, but the mentoring would be done through AI. And he said, oh, you'll have all of my knowledge, everything that I do. Well, that's not really true when something other than a human mind is taking information in and kind of spitting it out. It's just like computers are great, but they're also pre-programmed to give a certain response. So I think we have to get back to the understanding that we are human, that when we write, it's the voice of us, and it's a message that we give to others. There's nothing wrong with maybe looking something up and saying, how can I say this? But in the end, I think we have to be authentically us. And we could only be authentically us when we listen, know ourselves, and trust ourselves to move forward. So that's my input on artificial intelligence.
And very good input, and enlightenment, because, you know, it does take away, you know, but I believe that the reason why this came into existence is because, one, we already know profitability. Everything is driven by money. So one, we know it's creative ideas, but at the end of the day, it's making money. But the critical thing for us is that we have to be careful, because I remember when, you know, it was coming out about AI, when it was coming to the general public, because we know that, you know, before the general public gets this information or have access to these tools and resources, so to speak, it's been out there. I can remember about 10, maybe about 7, 8 years ago, I could remember watching I don't know if it was the Discovery Channel, but I was watching a show and they were talking about 3D, right? So the gentleman put his hands into this screen in Japan, and then in the US, his hands were coming out of the screen in the US, right? So that kind of manipulation and things like that. So that stuff is in existence. I know we don't see that right now in our mainstream, but it's coming. These things are being put in position because our lives have become so busy, right? We don't have time to write the paper for school. So how do we get another resource or a tool to help us, because we can't keep up? And I remember before this, I had to write. We had to write so many papers, so many research papers. We had to validate our research with citing it, and having the supporting science behind it, etc. And it conditioned me to be able to write. So using Chat GPT, and I haven't used it a lot, but in using Chat GPT, it was just like, whoa. But when you read through it, when you really, really read through it, it is redundancy. It's lack of, and I'm pretty sure I use the free version. I'm not paying for this stuff because I write. It was just a, you know, an opportunity to really see what the tool does and how it could be utilized. It can be beneficial, but what you brought into you brought into reality for us, Stephanie, is the fact that we're giving it information as well as we're receiving it. And then also, too, that we're losing the right to that information. It clearly says on there, do not put your personal information into the system. It does warn you not to put any personal information into the tool, to use it. But you brought up some very, very serious, you know, ways that we would lose our rights, the copywriting. That's critical for us to know that we're actually losing that. And I'm not too sure that many people dive in deep enough to see what the terms are in the agreement and et cetera, to really realize that they're losing that. And Teresa, you talked to the authenticity. So when I've used Chat GPT, it was just to get my juices flowing, right? Just to get my juices flowing, and to see what direction I wanted to go into, and then go right through whatever it was and rewrite it, to give it my own true voice, because that's important too. That you will lose your voice in that, because it's methodical, right? It's just it's getting you it's grabbing the data and dumping the data so that it makes sense. And what else I was told and was shared with, that it's data that's already out there. So it's information that's already been used. So here you are thinking that you're getting something original when you're not. You're actually getting something from somewhere else, Am I right, Teresa? You're getting something from somewhere else that someone else wrote. How authentic and how ethical is that? But I'm going to digress for just a second because I want Stephanie, being that you're new, I want the folks in our audience to know who you are and what services. Teresa and I are veterans, so I want them to know who you are and the services that you provide.
Sure. I am a professional freelance writer and editor. I own a company called Write by Steph. I do everything from people's resumes to blogs. I help them with their biographies, either a one page for an application. I edit books. I don't ghostwrite whole books. I just can't. That's too much work. I've been burned on that several times. And I edit college papers for students, especially my niche is with ESL students that are just learning English. Usually I'm out of a job with that client by the time I've gotten them through a semester's worth of work, because they're learning that in English you don't have to put the in front of every noun. So by the time I go through that after their first paper, they're usually getting A's and B's on their own, and they're learning about the verb tenses.
Yeah.
So that's always a success. As far as like even the resumes are affected by Chat GPT and computers and all the technology. A lot of people have been sending me these pretty resumes that they just need updated and they can't figure out how to do it, that they've made in Canva. Unfortunately, your Canva resumes are never going to get into a human resource officer's office because they don't recognize reverse print. So if you're putting a pretty blue background with gold letters or white letters or anything, all that the computer sees is a blank white piece of paper. If you use fancy bullet points, the computers can't read that. Everything's computer automated. As far as school papers go, I heard a statistic the other day that 74% of parents don't realize that their children are using Chat GPT to do their papers in school in every grade level from like 7th grade up. And that about 37% of students are relying on Chat GPT to do their papers. Where's the critical thinking skills going? Where is the ability? They're going to have these degrees later in life that mean nothing because they didn't actually do the work. I talked to a high school principal from a rural area near me a couple weeks ago, and he said that they're really cracking down on Chat GPT, and the teachers are using tools to search. And if your paper is written with Chat GPT or one of the similar ones, that's the gold standard, sadly. And that they're failing them, and they have to do the rest of their papers without a computer. They have to handwrite them because they're not trusted anymore.
Wow. Yeah, it just seems that what we're doing is creating an environment, a education, a knowledge-based environment that is doing more dummying up than educating, empowering, and equipping the up and coming generation. We're just making, I hate to say it like this, but it's just becoming lazy. You don't want to do the work. Even the adults, if we're adults are complaining about this is just too much, then what are the kids going to say? You know what I mean? Like, I remember having to get up in the morning on Saturday and cleaning the entire house, like from top to bottom. We had to clean the house. We had to strip the beds. We stripped all of our beds. Everything in the house had to be put we had to walk to the laundromat. We walked to the laundromat with we put all of our clothes and everything into the laundry, the pillowcase. And we took those pillowcases and we walked to the laundromat, and we folded those clothes. We walked back. We had to mop floors. We had to do all of that on a Saturday. Music blasting, but we had to do it. We learned work ethics, right? We learned how to take care of our homes. And by the time we were adults, we knew how to take care of our houses. We knew how to clean. And then we knew it enough to go and teach our children that. What's happening today? If we all have some kind of service, somebody providing this service for us, cleaning up, we just pick up our phones and order our foods, and we don't cook, we don't clean. What skills are we learning? Remember, we used to have home ec in school. When you learned how to cook, you learn. I remember I had to learn how to sew. What are we doing when it comes to that? And now we're teaching people to not rely on professionals like yourself to provide these services, and to also give them feedback for accountability. What are your thoughts about that as we close out? Teresa, what are your thoughts about all of that? I mean, just becoming very, very lazy. I know when I wrote my papers, uh, when I got to the master's level, you had to have at least 10 resources to support your writing. A minimum of 10 resources. And these are research papers with stats, that you had to be able to read those stats, those statistics, understand the statistics, and understand the methodology, the approach. You had to know all of that stuff. Teresa, what are your closing thoughts on this? Where's the accountability?
Well, my thoughts are, you mentioned in the beginning that we're too busy. Well, we're really not too busy. We make ourselves too busy. We have a choice. And we have a choice where we could take time, if it means getting up a little earlier in the morning, maybe staying up a little later at night, doing our writing, getting our creative juices flowing, and doing things for ourselves. Do we have time to clean our house if we want to? Yes. Truthfully, I prefer to have somebody else do it, but if I have to, I do it and I make the time. I think we've become so conditioned. We don't have time. We're too busy. We don't have time. We're too busy. Well, yeah, we do have the time. If something's really important to us, we will make the time. And it's up to individuals to decide what's important to them. You know, what do they think is important enough to them that they're going to set aside the time? If nothing's important to them, then they're not going to set aside the time. And at that point, that's their life if they want to be that automated. But I really believe that we rely too much on technology, and that we still need to get back to ourselves, of knowing ourselves, of trusting ourselves. And I went in the food store, and I'm one of these people that tries to use cash whenever possible, which is becoming obsolete. But I handed the person $5, and the bill was $4 and something. And this young girl behind the counter looked at me, and you could tell she didn't know what change to give me back, because the register
Oh, wow.
would not register how much cash. And I had to politely tell her, I said, it's $4.56. I said, I get 4 pennies and whatever, that's the change. And she said, thank you. I'm used to just looking at a screen, but this screen here does not tell me how much change to give you back. And she was a young college girl. And I thought, how sad is that? That here's an 18 or 19-year-old person that had no idea. If I didn't know how much change to get back, none of us would have known. I don't know if there was anybody working in the store that maybe knew how to give that change. But it's really sad that we've lost basic skills, that's what we're becoming, where there's no basic skill. It's not us doing anything. If you can't look at a screen and it can't give you the answer, then where are you? But I really believe that the tools are good, but we have to use them with discretion. And, I know at least for Hay House, you cannot publish using AI. They will not take anything, a book or anything that's not you. So there is still a voice out there. We just have to cultivate, still refining our voice, really listening to ourselves. And I can't stress enough being human, because I would hate to see us lose that. And with technology, that could easily happen. You know, the tools are out there to not be human. We just have to realize that we still need to be human and use things with discretion. So that's what I say.
Thank you, Teresa. That was good. And you're right. We have time for what we make time for. I truly believe that. And I love my home. And I feel like when I'm cleaning, I'm loving on my home. So I love to clean myself. I love cleaning myself. I love lavender throughout. I want lavender candles burning. I want the lavender fills in the air wick or the Glade plugins. I want lavender when I wash my hands. Because lavender is woo-sa. It is so relaxing, and it always reminds me that I need to love myself because it smells like the spa. so, so I want my own house to smell like the spa. Stephanie, what are your closing thoughts?
Just reiterating, ChatGPT can be a tool, but you have to be very, very careful with it. You have to understand you are giving up your rights to whatever you have left up here when you use ChatGPT. And like Teresa said, there are several publishers that are not taking books written by AI because they were getting inundated, especially in the science fiction industry. One publication house actually stopped taking submissions last year because everything was ChatGPT. Even Amazon, they make you sign a disclosure that if you use ChatGPT, you can't use ChatGPT at all in your book.
And it should be that, because it's not your book. Honestly, it's not your book. And you have to own that. And it's really interesting as we close out how many advertisements that are telling you that you can make all this money. And I'm pretty sure that because of everything that we do and the conversations that we have, that you've gotten these ads that pop up for you too, that if you write this ebook, you can make all this money. You've seen those. And it's just like, that's ridiculous. Who's writing an ebook? Who's writing a book in 5 minutes? Who's doing that? And so, just like you said, Stephanie, I really agree with you. And then as we close out, I also wanted to tack on to what you said earlier in regards to images and the videos and stuff like that. Very, very dangerous territory. This is very, very dangerous. Also, too, in a sense that we're not using our brain. So what's the real agenda here? Dummy us all up. And we have to be, we have to be cognizant of that ourselves. Do we allow ourselves to get dumbed up? I remember that there was a time where we had to remember everybody's phone number because we didn't have a phone in our hand. We had to remember those numbers. We had to know those telephone numbers. And so we have to be smarter to protect our voice. And just like you said, Stephanie, if you want to use it, I know it was very, very helpful for me to just get my juices flowing. But even that's dangerous because I'm putting in the criteria, the variables that make up what's in my head and my creativity, and I'm giving it to the system, and now someone else can build on that and take that. And so I'm glad that we had this conversation today, and I'm pretty sure our audience is too. And so just want to say a big shout out to Stephanie. Welcome to the Own It family. We are so glad to have you here. And I know many folks in our group are going to need your services, and folks really, really need your services in our audience. And so, get connected. Stephanie, give them a shout out of how they can get connected to you. Teresa, you do the same in regards to your book as well.
Sure. My email address is writebysteph, WRITEBYSTEPH @gmail.com. And then I also have a website, writebysteph.com. I have all my services listed on there. You can communicate with me at any time through there. My phone number for people in the United States, 314-952-7525. Call or text anytime. My goal in life is to make people want to see their selves grow as a writing professional. At some point, it would be great if all I have to do is like edit, because everyone wants to do their own writing. They're excited about writing, seeing your words in print. I have 2 books and a chapter of an anthology out. There is nothing more exciting than seeing your name in print and seeing your book on a bookshelf in a bookstore or library.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Teresa?
Okay. I wrote a book called Heal Your Heart from Within, and it's a book that gives people the knowledge and the tools and knowledge that I've been working with patients for over 24 years doing this. I am a nurse practitioner, a Master of Science prepared nurse with about 30 years in the medical profession. Holistic cardiology is my expertise. So my book could be found on Amazon.com or BalboaPress.com. I also have a website, wellbeinggal.com. It's WELLBEINGGAL, all one word.com. And that's how people could reach me. I would love for people to reach out. I do help people individually as far as giving them a whole 360 degree or the eagle's perspective view on heart health. A lot of it, a very positive take on, a lot of times we look at heart from the illness and disease perspective. And yes, that could happen, but there's always things you could do to help yourself. And that's what I do. I help people understand their heart, for how their heart really is their own personal power and how they could connect into it to not only improve their health and well-being, but improve their life, live the best life they can. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, ladies, I want to just say thank you for taking out time of your busy day and sharing with us your insight on ChatGPT and AI. We've really got to be wise in this, and we got to exercise our brain. I take ashwagandha every day to make sure that my brain is working. I don't want to be dummying up. I don't want to be counterproductive and going over here and being lazy with actually doing the things that is necessary to keep my brain vibrant. And so thank you so very much, ladies. You have a blessed day.
Thanks.
Enjoy your day. And ladies and gentlemen, have a blessed rest of the week. We will see you again next week in the Author's Corner. Take care. Be blessed. We're out.